Hello there! Welcome to Library Science 101, Introduction to College Research. My name is Abels-Sullivan and I'm going to be your instructor. And today we're going to be discussing how to find materials in the library. So, imagine this research scenario. Your English professor has just assigned you your first research paper. They want it to be on American folklore, though the specific topic of American folklore is up to you. You need a minimum of 5 sources total, and there's also a special caveat that 2 of those sources have to be actual physical print books. How do you find those, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm about to show you. So, your library will be using something called OneSearch. So you'll see this on the home page of your school's library. And OneSearch is your one-stop shop for finding library books and other media. So with OneSearch, for their regular simple search, you can just enter in whatever your keywords are into this search box. And once you hit search, you'll see all of your results listed much like this. So if you look up here, you might see that there's 115,907 results from that search, which is quite a lot. And in future classes, we'll discuss how to narrow that down through some special searching techniques, but today we're going to just keep it simple. So what can we do to narrow this down? Well, I know that you're all very eagle-eyed, attentive students, so I'm sure that you noticed this side of the page here where it says refine your results. So let's take a closer look. So refining our results is a list of different filters that we can use to help narrow down our material search. So if you'll recall from our research scenario, our professor wants us to specifically use actual printed books. So in order to narrow down our 115,000 results, we can just check books and check it to only show us materials that are actually available in our library, because books aren't really very helpful to us if we can't actually get them. So once we do that and we've applied our filters, you'll see that it will drop down to only 255 results, which is still a lot of books, but is a lot easier to sort through to find things that are more relevant to our topic than 115,000. So it's a much easier place to start. So let's imagine we found our first resource. We found this book called Folklore in America. So let's actually start to understand what we're going to be looking at here. So when you open up any material from OneSearch, you'll see at the top the full title of the book. So in this case, it's Folklore in America, Tales, Songs, Superstitions, Proverbs, Riddles, Games, Folk Drama, and Folk Festivals. Below that, you'll see the author or editor information, the dates that that author was writing between, and then below that, the date that the actual work was published. So next, you'll see the Library of Congress call number, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So first, we're going to actually talk about accessing the item. If you look down here, we'll see a little more information. We'll see that it's located at Los Angeles Pierce College, which for the case of this imagined research scenario is your college also. So it's available in the LA Pierce College stacks, which means it's on the shelf in the library. We see that there is 1 copy available, and there are no requests on it, and that it should be in place. So this means that we should have no trouble just walking into the library and finding the book on the shelf. So the way that we find books on the shelf is we read their call numbers. So here's a closer look at the call number. The call number for this material specifically is GR105.J65, which is not the longest, but still kind of long and complex. So let's take a closer look at what we're actually reading. So your college library is going to use something called the Library of Congress cataloging system, which is less confusing than it looks. As long as you're familiar with the alphabet and you remember how to count, you should be fine, even if it looks intimidating. But I believe in you guys. So let's just break it down so you actually know what you're looking at a little bit more. So those first two letters, the GR, this is what's called the primary subject heading, and this is going to tell you the general subject area of the material. So in this case, I'll tell you that GR falls under the anthropology subject heading of the Library of Congress system. Below that, we'll see 105, which is just a further narrowing down of that subject to specifically American folklore under the general heading of anthropology. And below that, we'll see the last set, which is J65, which just helps the Library of Congress system narrow it down into an even more specific subject. And in this section, you'll also sometimes see author info or publication date. So moving on, how will we actually find it when we come to the library? So the LC subject headings will probably be listed somewhere in the library for your reference, but all of the shelves will just be in alphabetical order. So it'll start with the A's and go all the way down the alphabet. So if you're feeling very confident, when you go into the library, you can just look for the GR section, which will be listed on the call number range on the end of the shelf. But if you're like myself and most people, you might want a little more assistance, and that is what your reference librarians are for. Now, it can be kind of intimidating to go up to a reference librarian. We often look like we're very busy or like we're very deep in thought or very serious, but I promise you, no matter what we're up to, we're happy to answer any of your questions. We are here to help you. So if you're not feeling 100% confident in finding your book, which is a totally reasonable way to feel, whoever is at the reference desk will be happy to help you locate it. So now that I've shown you the basics, let me just run through that in real time so you can see how it'll look when you're doing it yourself. So let's start by going to our college's homepage, in this case lapiercecollege.com, and you'll see in the top corner here a link to our library website. And if we scroll down just a little, we'll see our one search. So let's try the search that we just talked about, American folklore, and hit search. And as soon as it loads, we'll see all of those hundreds of thousands of results. So as you can see in a little more detail, there's a lot of stuff on American folklore. Fortunately, it's a very popular subject, so there's actually a lot of print books on it, but you'll see that some of them say that they're only available online. And as we just learned, we only want ones that are available in the library. So we'll come over here to refine our results. We'll select available in the library, and we'll select books. And there are lots of other filters that you can play with that we can talk about another time. But we're just going to go down to this button, and it will refresh the page once you click it. And we'll find our limited results, only 255 of them, and there we are. So I'm so glad that you joined me today. I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you guys in the library. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.